Hello, welcome or welcome back to the YarnNYarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Today's video is a recent making video, a roundup video. So I said in my last spinning roundup that I was going to try and get better, get back in the habit of doing these a bit more regularly. 2024 has been a little bit of a exceptional year, shall we say, in terms of the amount of time I've spent away from home and therefore the amount of time I've had to make and record videos. So I'm hoping over the coming months to get back into doing these wrap-up videos a little bit more regularly. So I'm going to be talking about most of the things that I worked on during September and October in this video. So I've got some spinning and some knitting to share with you. I think I will start with spinning, as that will be the smallest segment. I most recently did a spinning roundup video where I talked about a lot of the things that I worked on at the beginning of this year. These are the couple of things that I've worked on since then. So it's all spindle spinning to share with you today. So first off, I've got a couple of smaller skeins that I spun up on my support spindles. I do a lot of spinning on my support spindles. I just love that way of spinning. These two, I think they go quite nicely together. They complement each other quite well, although they're completely different fibres from completely different sources. So first off is this one, and this is 25 grams worth of fibre. I don't know exactly what the fibre content is, but I believe there is some camel down in this blend. I got this as part of a little sort of samples pack when I bought a spindle back at the East Anglia Yarn Festival back in March, I want to say, March, and the spindle came with a little packet of fluff, or I might have bought a little packet of fluff separately so I could start spinning, I can't remember exactly. And the vendor did point out this little sample pack because it had this fibre in it. So it's a combination of silk, camel, and I think maybe merino, and there was 25 grams of this. So I thought I would just spin that up because I really liked the colours. It's yellows and greens, and I was curious to try out some fibre with some camel in it. Ended up with 72 metres in this approximate 25 gram quantity of fibre, or now yarn. This spun up really finely, so I decided to chain ply it on my e-spinner after I had spindle spun the singles. Most often I two ply my yarns, but for some reason recently I've been much more enjoying three plies. I don't know why, I guess we go through these phases. I tend to spin comb top from the fold on my support spindles most often, so that was that. And then the second is a small quantity of fibre again. This was 25 grams, and I got this many years ago. It might have been from my first Wonderwall, not sure, but it's from Marina Skewer, and you might know Marina. She has her own channel here on YouTube and she makes lovely things. She's a designer, she sells fibre and her own blend of yarn. This is a mix of Blueface Leicester and alpaca, and I bought this because I just loved the colours. This was a bat originally, a blended bat. I wouldn't purchase this now just because I have developed a sensitivity to alpaca. I don't know what the content in terms of the percentage of wool versus alpaca was in this, but I could definitely feel that my hands and my face were starting to itch a little bit as I was spinning this, but it was only a small bit of fibre, and so I wanted to work through it rather than just have it hanging out in my stash forever and a day. I ended up two plying this on my e-spinner, and it's approximately 65 metres for 25 grams. So I got similar meterage or yardage from the two, but this one is a 3-ply and this one is a 2-ply. I don't have any particular purpose for those. It's just been nice. I started, I think, during the Tour de Fleece, trying to use up some of the smaller sample quantities of fibre that I had in my stash. I just kind of carried that through, just grabbed a few bits and pieces when I wanted something a little bit smaller to spin. So yeah, they'll just hang out in my hand spun stash until a project comes along for them. Those are my first two finished spins, and then I've got one larger finished spin again, completely spun on my support spindles, and this is also a 3-ply. So I ended up spinning the singles on my support spindles and then plying on my e-spinner again. This is was a braid of fibre from Dina's Home of Craft, and again I purchased this at the East Anglia Yarn Festival. I just fell in love with the colours in the braid. They did mute down somewhat in the yarn, which often happens. There was quite a lot of white in the braid of fibre. If I've got a picture of the fibre at all, I'll try and put that up on the screen. But yeah, it's really, really lovely skein of yarn, really subtle sort of transitions of colour. Ended up with 106 grams of fibre, approximately 300-ish metres. And again, I chain plied it on my e-spinner after spinning the singles on my support spindles. This fibre is 70% merino, 30% silk, and the colourway was called Redwood. I have the inkling of a plan for this. I'd need to spin up another yarn to go with it. I'm not sure. I need to check the project that I have in mind. I don't know if this is quite enough meters, so I need to check that first. And if it is, then I need to get another colour to go with it to spin up, and then this will be on the needles relatively quickly, if that's the case. I'm rambling here. It doesn't really matter, does it? I will show you it if it ever gets knit up into that project. So those are all the finished spins that I have to share with you. I do have a couple of spins in progress. The first is on my Turkish spindle, one of my Turkish spindles. I've got this little basket which has got some of the fluff in, some finished turtles that have come off of my Turkish spindle, and I'm currently using for this spin this fabulous Turkish spindle which was 3D printed and gifted to me from my lovely friend Caroline, who has the Colourful Creativity YouTube channel. I love the bronze colour of this. So I picked out, once I finished my last Turkish spindle spin, I just picked a random braid again from my, actually it was from my fibre cart behind me, and it was something that I purchased relatively recently. It's kind of my fibre nemesis. So this is actually some Rambouillet fibre, and I've spun Rambouillet at least twice that I can recall, and I didn't really enjoy the experience either time. So the first time was some fibre from Hilltop Cloud. I just found the feel of it really kind of chalky and weird. I can't really describe it. I loved the resulting skein of yarn, and I actually knitted that up and gifted it to a lovely friend of mine. It looked fabulous knit up. And it was fine to knit, I just didn't enjoy the spinning process. And then I had, in the advent calendar that I spun through Tour de Fleece, I had another sample of Rambouillet in that, and I don't know what happened with that particular bump of fibre, because all of the fibres in that calendar were beautiful, but I think the Rambouillet had got slightly felted and it was really tough to spin. So yeah, both of my previous attempts at spinning Rambouillet just have not been that fun. So I thought I'd give it a chance again, and this was a colourway that was dyed by Feather and Fleece, I want to say. If I'm incorrect, I'll put up on the screen. I don't think Rowan is dyeing at the moment, but this was a club colourway that she had, and it's the Hephaestus colourway, which is a reference to the Greek god of fire. Fabulous colour, and I don't know if that is swaying my opinion on this, but I'm enjoying this Rambouillet. Third time lucky, maybe. I'm enjoying this much, much more this time round. I think I've got one more braid of Rambouillet in my fibre stash. I won't be rushing to buy it again, even though I'm getting on much, much better with the fibre this time. It's still just not my favourite. But yeah, this spinning experience is by far and away the best that I've had with Rambouillet to this point. I've spun about maybe 2/3 of that fibre. Again, I've got no purpose for the finished yarn. I'm just trying to work through some of my fibre stash. So I like to have a project on my Turkish spindles, my drop spindles and my support spindles. So I just work on that as and when I've got 5 minutes, as and when I fancy it, and it'll get finished when it gets finished. And then on my support spindles, I have an amazingly bright green. I love this fibre so much. It's the 1st of November as I'm recording this, so literally was Halloween yesterday, so this just seemed very Halloweenish, very ghoulish, and perfect for this time of year. And this was a braid of fibre that I bought at YarnNYarns from Wonderful Wool, and it's their banana blend, which is merino, corriedale, banana fibre and trilobal nylon. So it's got a real fun sort of sparkle or sheen to it. And both myself and my friend Jeanette bought a braid of this, and Jeanette's already spun hers up and she's knitting hers into a pair of socks, which was always my intention for this. Jeanette's combining hers. She's got some pink, some green and I think some white. It's making these fabulous stripy socks. I'm going to hopefully knit a pair of socks just from this super bright green. I don't know what pattern or anything yet, but I'm just working my way through it, and this is all I've got left of the 100-gram braid. I'm going to hold up my box of spindles. This could be a bit disastrous, hopefully not. But in here I've got all of the spindles that I've spun so far, including some new acquisitions. I was a little bit naughty again. I can't help it. Spindles just seem to come live with me all the time. It's a addiction. So I bought these two from a German spindle maker. If you watch my little homage to Vlogtober, that video that went up a couple of weeks ago, you might have seen me unboxing these. So I bought two. This one's got a sort of sunflower inlay wood, and this one is just a really fun mix of bright colours. So I've got 10 full spindles and I've got this left, so I might squeeze this onto one, I might split it out over two, but this will probably be another evening or so's knitting. Once I spinning. Once I start with my support spindles, I don't want to stop. So I have to be very careful when I'm trying to work on lots of different things, not to start my spindle spinning too early in the evening, because I literally won't do anything else. Yeah, that's everything I have for spinning. I do have one other spin in progress, which is on my e-spinner, which is a longer term project, and I keep meaning to bring up a bobbin of the fibre to share. I meant to do it with my spinning wrap up and I forgot, and I've forgotten again. So I will hopefully share that with you next time. But I'm working through a larger quantity of John Arbon fibre, slowly working through that on my e-spinner as and when I've got the time. So I'll try and remember to chat about that next time I do a wrap up video. So before I start sharing with you the knitting projects that I have been working on for the last couple of months, I want to quickly just chat about two projects that I'm not going to be sharing with you today, and both of those were our community picks. So in September, the lovely Marianne picked a woven project for me. She asked me to just weave with my hand spun yarn, and I do have a woven piece in progress, but my loom is currently downstairs and I've been working slowly on it. It's a project I'm trying to follow a weaving pattern for the first time. Yeah, it's been an interesting exercise so far. It took me quite a while to warp up my loom and get myself started, so I don't have a huge amount of progress to share with you on that yet. Don't know yet when I will share that with you, whether I'll wait until it's a finished object or whether, if I don't finish it in the next couple of months, perhaps I will share my progress with you next time. The other project that I'm not going to share with you today is the one that Jeanette picked for me in the October making plans video, and that is a pair of scrappy socks that I was working on, and I'm going to save those to share with you because I'm planning on doing a little update video for our scrap make along. So we've been working on projects to use up our leftovers for the last couple of months. We've got a make along going on in the community. I think we started it back in August, I might be wrong, maybe July, and it might have been July actually, and I think I did a July-August sort of roundup of my projects and shared some community projects, and my plan is to do a September-October where I'll share my scrap projects or my leftover projects and the dispersion socks count as part of that. So rather than show them twice, I'll save those for that video. Right, okay then, let's crack on with knitting. It's mostly a combination of socks and sweaters. So I guess let's start with sweaters, shall we? You may have recently watched my vlog where I have been chatting about my garter Marla cardigan. I'm not going to chat about it too much today because there's a whole video on the project if you care to watch, but I have a finished cardigan. This was one of our 12 cast-ons for this year, and I love this cardigan so much. I've been wearing it pretty much non-stop. I think today's one of the first days that I haven't worn it. I decided to have a bit of a change today. I've been loving this garment. It also counts for our scrap make along because works in progress were totally welcome, and it wasn't until I was part way through working on this that I realised that it would totally count for that make along as well. So doubly joyous that I can count this for my yarn tally out for my scrap make along, but also it's just so nice to have one of my 12 cast-ons finished, because I feel like I just haven't managed to finish many projects this year. Guatemala is a pattern by Stephen West. You hold fingering weight yarn double throughout the project, so a great scrap buster, and I loved making this, and I have been loving wearing it. The one thing I will say, and I don't know if I going to be able to find it now, but I'm not the only person in this household that oh, here we go, that loves this cardigan. So when we went away last weekend, I was going to pack this to take it with me, and I accidentally left it next to the suitcase. I didn't pick it up, and my lovely cat Newt made a little bed of it over the weekend while we were away, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but there's one shoulder where she's obviously been trying to make biscuits and she's managed to catch the yarn in a couple of places. So I've tucked that through in some places, but there's some bits that I haven't obviously quite managed to fix yet. Nothing in this household is sacred, honestly. Can't be mad though. I mean, yes, it's a newly finished garment, but these things are made to be worn and used, and you know, if the cat wants to use it as a blanket, then she can. It's fine. We love her. So yeah, Guatemala is my only finished sweater, but I've got a couple more sweater projects to share with you that are still in progress. First off is the Raya sweater, which I worked on in September. I didn't end up making as much progress on this as I had hoped, because a lot of my attention got grabbed by the Guatemala, and I was doing the thing where I was trying to alternate by working 1 week on the Guatemala, 1 week on the Raya. But when I was due to switch back on the Raya, I was so close to finishing the Guatemala. In the end, I only worked for 1 week on the Raya rather than 2, but it's fine because I got one finished sweater. So yeah, I will be working on the Raya this month. Not sure whether I'll get it close to being finished. There's still a lot of knitting to go. This is my Raya so far. You might have seen this quite a few times because I feel like I've worked on it on and off quite a few times this year. It's a combination of my hand spun yarn and a commercial yarn, and I've knit the front. It's a sideways knit, and it's got this tassel detail down the bottom, so you're forever cutting your yarns, which does slow down the knitting somewhat, but it's a really fun project. I'm working my way back now across the back of the sweater, so I've only got that far. I've still got all of this to go. So yeah, given I'm working on a couple of sweaters in November, I might not make a huge dent in that, but it'd be really nice if I could finish it by the end of the year. Really nice. We'll see. I'm not putting any pressure on myself. I will get done what I get done. That's the update for the Raya. And I've got 2 more sweaters to share with you before we move on. Next up is my Heritage Harbour, which is a pattern by Samantha Guerin. I had kind of hoped that this might be finished this month. I didn't quite make it. I've been working on the sleeves, and I think I'm at the point now where I'm going to put the cuff, the ribbed cuff, onto the first sleeve. I've started the second sleeve. I haven't got that far. I've just done a couple of stripes, but I ran out of time and I got distracted. Oh no, I've got 2 more sweaters to share with you. I thought I had 1, but I've got 2 more. I got distracted by a new cast on, which I shall share with you. And when I had thought I would be working on this, the new cast on, I just became obsessed with. So in theory, because I've done my November making plans, I should be putting this away and maybe pulling it back out in December. But this stripe pattern is really easy. It's mostly just knit in the round, and then there's a couple of rows where you knit 1 per 1. So this is really good pick up and put down knitting. So I think I'm going to put this project down by my computer desk. So when I'm video editing or doing emails for YarnNYarns stuff, or updating the YarnNYarns website, stuff like that, I'm gonna just keep chipping away at these sleeves and see how far I get. This will definitely be finished by the end of the year. If I can't finish it in November, I will be concentrating on this in December, because it's so close. I mean, 3/4 of a sleeve basically is what I have left to do, which really isn't a ton of knitting time. So yeah, I'm going to take that one back down with me, and we'll just see. I'm going to quietly work away on it while I'm at my computer desk and just to see how much progress I can make. Last month, when I did my dice rolls for my making plans, I got the Let the Good Times Roll sweater. So there's one card in my deck of prompt cards where I put a specific project on, and the Let the Good Times Roll sweater is a fabulous 80s inspired design from Sylvia What's Cherry, and I was originally test knitting this sweater for her, and then I think at the very end of the test knit I got quite sick and I didn't quite finish it, and I ended up going wrong on the front design. It's got this roller skate motif. When I talked about this in my October making plans video, I said I needed to rip back to the point where I knew the pattern was right. So I managed to do that, as you can see, but I haven't knit any more on the front. However, what I did do, I was trying to work on my Selbu socks, which I will show you later, which is a colourwork pattern, and I didn't think I'd have the brain power to work on an intarsia pattern and a colourwork pattern all at the same time. So instead I decided to work on the sleeves for the Let the Good Times roll, and I've got 2 sleeves, so obviously this sweater is knit in pieces, and I think I've got to the point in the pattern where I finished the sleeve increases, so it's a cuff up sleeve. And then the pattern instructs you to keep going in the stripe pattern until your sleeves are a certain length. So what I decided to do was stop at the point where I'd finished the increases, and then I'm going to wait until I've finished the front and I've sewn the front and back together to decide how long I actually need to make my sleeves. So I think there'll be another couple of stripes probably to add to each sleeve to make them the right length, but I don't want to make them too long. Yeah, I made some good progress. 2 sleeves, or 2 3/4 sleeves. That's quite a lot of knitting, so I'm pretty pleased with that. It's a project that hasn't been on my radar for ages, and I'm not sure when I'll next get to pull it out and knit on it again. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the progress that I managed to make on that during October. In October, when I did my making plans video, I got the new prompt, which, you know, all my prompts are open to interpretation, but of course the most obvious interpretation is to cast on something new. Now, this close to the end of the year, I didn't think I would be casting on anything new, or if I did, I thought it might be a pair of scrappy socks for our scrap make along. However, I got completely distracted by a new pattern release. Now, I'm often distracted by new pattern releases. I think, oh, these are, you know, that pattern's gorgeous, I'd really like to cast that on. But it kind of goes in one ear out the other. Sometimes I buy the patterns and then they just sit in my Ravelry library and I'll cast them on maybe one day. I've tried to stop doing that. I'm trying to stop buying patterns unless I'm ready to cast on, because I end up with a whole bunch of stuff in my library sat there not being used. When I saw the 3 Seasons pullover, a design by Wool and Pine Designs, I just completely fell in love. It doesn't happen very often where I see something and I think I have to cast that on now. To the point where I had to order yarn for this sweater. So I saw the pattern, bought the pattern, ordered the yarn, have cast on. Not only did I cast on, I'm going to show you because I'm so proud of myself, I actually did a bit of a swatch, which I haven't ripped out yet. I will need to rip this out because I'm going to be down to the wire in terms of my yarn that I've got. Because I knew going into it, I bought all of the yarn in this colourway that the website had. Because I knew from the start that I'd be close on the yarn. I wanted a swatch to make sure I wasn't too wildly out on the gauge, because the sweater has cables and lace and some textured panels. So yeah, I did do a bit of a swatch and then I cast on, having figured out that I was fairly close to gauge, if not on gauge. And this is the one that I've been obsessed with. I just don't want to put it down. Just do not want to put it down. So this is the 3 Seasons pullover. I'm working on the back and I have this much to show for myself, which is a lot of knitting. I mean, the yarn is a thicker yarn. It's one of those blown yarns, so it's got like a cotton core and then it has wool blended with it. I'd never heard of this yarn before, but when I went on to YarnSub looking for a suitable yarn that I could buy easily here in the UK, this one came up, and it's Venezia from Mayflower. to make the size that I wanted to make, I really needed 13 balls of this. They're 50-gram balls. The website had 12, so I just bought what they've got, and I'm hoping that I will have roughly enough yarn. If I don't, I'll have to make some adjustments. The sleeves are quite baggy and quite long, or they look like that on the model, so I might be able to adapt the sleeves. I'm also thinking maybe at some point the website will get this back in. It's not quite as bright as it's showing on the camera. I feel like we're very orange centric today. Everything is camouflaging. What can I say? I love orange. It's more of a sort of rusty orange than it's showing on the screen. So I'm hoping they'll either get some more back in stock and I can buy another couple of balls. Might not be the same dye lot, but I'm thinking if I have a slightly different dye lot for the ribbed neck, sleeves, bottom of the sweater, that won't make a huge difference. Or I'm thinking if they don't get this back, that I could order a contrasting colour for the ribbing. I'm thinking maybe a brown or something like that, and then that way I will be able to make up the meterage that I'm missing. So yeah, I'm kind of knitting on a wing and a prayer. But can't stop, won't stop. And because it is a slightly thicker weight yarn, you know, it knits up relatively quickly. Like yesterday evening, I spent a couple of hours working on it, and I worked from this stitch marker here to where I am on my needles, so it does knit up relatively quickly. That's my 3 seasons pullover from Wool and Pine Designs. I really did try not to cast it on. I even asked some of my friends to dissuade me from buying yarn, because, you know, I've got a ton of yarn that I want to use up, but nothing that would have been suitable for this sweater. But everyone who looked at the pattern said they thought it was completely me and that I should go for it, so they weren't any help whatsoever. But I thank them for it now because I'm loving knitting this. I'm keeping it in a tote bag that was a gift from my lovely friend Caroline, which says, "I am a yarnaholic on the road to recovery. Just kidding, I'm on the road to the yarn store." So everything I need for that sweater is in that tote bag. And I think I need to leave that tote bag up here for at least the first week of November, the 1st of November as I'm recording it. As I'm recording this, probably won't go up on the channel for a couple of weeks, but if I take that back downstairs, that'll be the only thing that I want to work on. So yeah, that's everything for sweater knitting. So time to talk about some socks now. So I already mentioned earlier in the video that I finished the dispersion socks, which I'll share with you when I do my scrap make along roundup. But I've finished 2 other pairs of socks as well. The first is one of my oldest works in progress. It's the Selbu socks. I cast these on for our 12 cast-ons 2020. So that's how long these have been on the needles. I do have a second sock here, just to prove that it's a pair. I'm not going to chat too much about these socks. I had some trials and tribulations along the way with these, but I do have a making vlog coming for these socks. I'm not sure what order these videos are going to go up on the channel in, but I think the Selbu socks might be the next video next week. So yeah, I will say that my yarns are both West Yorkshire Spinners yarns, and the pattern is from Skein Deer Knits. I'm so glad they're finished because obviously they've been hanging around for such a long time, but I do love a colourwork sock and this design is just gorgeous. Selbu socks, finally off the needles. Final pair of finished socks to share with you are just a pair of vanilla socks that I've been working on. These are kind of like my cinema / out and about knitting, and I just grabbed a skein of opal yarn, which is my favourite commercial sock yarn, and this is a really fun colourway because it's almost like knitting a scrappy sock without having to deal with all of the ends. There's just so many fun colours in this, and this was from a relatively recent range from Opal. I think I still have some yarns from this range in the YarnNYarns web shop if you're interested. I don't think I have this particular colourway. This one is interestingly titled, "Who Has Eaten All My Windows?" They're based on the art of Hunda Twaza. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But on the ball bands they're really fun because they have a little picture of the painting that inspired the colourway. I don't know how well you can see that because the light is rapidly fading and is reflecting off of the ball band. But yeah, They were just my vanilla sock to work on while I was out and about, so they recently got finished as well. These will just go into my sock drawer. I haven't yet washed these. I do like to wash my socks. I know it's not essential to wash and block your socks, but I do like to give them a bit of a rinse after I've used them, because, you know, we get oils on our skin, and you know, I might be scoffing a biscuit or a packet of crisps or something when I'm knitting. So it's nice just to, you know, put on socks that you know are clean. So I will give them a soak. I think I will leave off sharing the other pair of socks until my next roundup video, because I've only got a little bit of progress on the socks that I have currently on the needles. So that just leaves one more knitting project to share with you, which was a new cast on in September. I hope the lighting is still okay. It's getting on for 4:15 on a Friday afternoon, and now the clocks have changed here in the UK. It's getting pretty dark now, so hopefully you can still see what I'm trying to share with you. In September, the lovely Tracy, one of our community members, gifted me the Northeasterly blanket pattern and challenged me to cast it on, and this is a perfect project for our scrappy make along. So I have started a Northeasterly. There's not a huge amount to share with you on this at the moment, but I'm currently working on 2 stripes of my Northeasterly. And I've got a specific idea with what I want to do with this blanket. So I want to make my stripes in roughly the colours of the pride flag. This is definitely going to be a slow project because I'm going to be looking for specific yarns. As you can see, I'm not really worried about getting the tones to match the colours on the pride flag. I just want yarns that kind of read red or read yellow, read orange. As you can see, I've got one in here which is red and white stripes, so it's going to be quite a colourful, fun blanket, but it's definitely going to be a long-term work in progress. I'm currently quite short of red, orange and yellow yarns because I used a lot of those in my Guatemala. I can only progress this blanket so far until I come across some more yarns in those colours. Definitely going to be on the needles for a while. I've started collecting some bits and pieces from my leftovers and my stash yarns for future stripes and colours. I'll be doing that from now on. I'll be setting aside anything that I think might fit into this blanket. As you can see, I'm using one of my square bucket bags to hold this project, and I've actually made myself a yarn advent for December, and it's mostly got reds and yellows and oranges in that advent so that I can hopefully knit a little bit on this blanket every day in December. I think it's going to be a really fun project. I'm really excited about it. It's a really easy, straightforward knit. It'll be like my mitered square blanket, which took me several years to make, but I don't mind that for a blanket project. Well, I don't mind that obviously for any project, including socks. They take as long as they take. I've had my eye on that Northeasterly pattern ever since it was released, and that's going back for quite a few years now. So it was a real lovely surprise when Tracy gifted that to me. And I've got a crochet blanket on the go, but I haven't got a knit blanket on the go. And I've been thinking that I might cast one on for the 12 cast-ons this year. But now I've got the Northeasterly on the go now. That will free up space for something else to cast on, because it's just so nice having scrappy blankets on the go, isn't it? I don't know why they are so comforting and joyful, but yeah, I love a good scrappy blanket. So thank you so much to Tracy for gifting me that pattern and for inspiring me to cast on. Okay, so I think we have reached the end, and it's probably a good time to end too, because as I say, it's getting really dark outside, so we're about to lose the light anyway. Hopefully you've been able to see everything okay that I've shared with you. It's going to be a battle for the next few months, isn't it? Finding time when I'm at home in the daylight to record. I do have a ring light, so I might have to get that out and set that up again as well. Winter makes video making a little bit more challenging, but we can do it. We always do. Right, okay, let me know in the comments below what you have been making recently, what you've finished, what you've cast on. Yeah, I love to be inspired by everything that you are making. Let me know what you think about the projects that I've been working on. Which of my projects that are still in progress do you think I should try and concentrate on and finish before the end of the year? We're rapidly heading towards our next 12 cast on party. So I want to spend the last 2 months of the year clearing off as many sets of needles as I can. It'll be a challenge, but I'm up for it. I think I've still got a good 3 or 4 cast-offs left in me before the end of the year. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to all of my waffle around what I've been making. I will be back here again soon with some more making content, so I hope you will join me for the next video. But until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some other things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.